All right, guys, we are live. Welcome to another Sunday night session. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal. My name is Kevin Shaw. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to adjust the camera because it is really low. Come on. Come on. There she is. All right. Sorry. I was in a bit of a rush. We had Mother's Day dinner over at my in-laws, and I actually left the family there. I had to drive. I had to drive home to set this up for all you ingrates. So, anyway, we are we're good to go, man. We are doing we're doing good. We got some really cool stuff going on with the magazine. I do have some announcements. We do a little bit of news before we get into like the meat and the potatoes of tonight's discussion. First and foremost is our Sunday Night Live session sponsor, Up Lake Adventures. Unfortunately, there's a couple problems, and they have unfortunately been forced to reschedule this coming weekend's Lake Tahoe PWC fishing tournament. And that was I was on the phone with Bob earlier this last week. He says, Kevin, I'm really sorry, man, but we are in a lot of trouble here on the lake. And the two major causes for the fishing tournament being rescheduled, and by rescheduled, it's being pushed back to 2023. Same time, it's going to be in mid-May, but it's going to be next year. They just can't do it this year. And the primary reasons are that first, the water level in Tahoe is something like 70 or 80 feet low. Like, it's stupid low. I saw pictures, and the water's so low that the launch ramp ends and it's just shore. It's just dirt. And like another 20 feet. I mean, it's ridiculous. So they can't even launch boats. They can't retrieve boats. Their floating docks are laying flat on dirt. Tahoe's dry. They're in bad shape. So unfortunately, the tournament is being postponed until next year, and that really sucks because that's the same tournament that Sea-Doo was going to give away a brand new 2022 trophy. They were going to give away a Fish Pro trophy as the grand prize. So, and Sea-Doo knows. Sea-Doo's like, hey, listen, there's not much you can do. The other major factor was the gas prices were killing traveling participants. Guys are like, dude, I can't afford the gas to drive all the way out there. I just, I want to come from New York. I want to come from Pennsylvania. I want to come from Georgia. I want to come from Florida. And these guys just, like, I can't afford it. It's, the gas is quadrupled. I'm exaggerating. It's tripled. Unless you lived in California and, you get what you pay for. But yeah, it really sucks. So unfortunately, we'll be doing a little bit of promotion and for Up Lake Adventures, but any promotion that we do for the PWC tournament is probably you're going to start seeing that towards the end of this year. So that them's the breaks, man. Not enough. There was not enough rainfall and a lot of water usage. The lake levels are just super low, and then fuel costs were just killing people. So that's news number one. News number two is getting the Watercraft Journal on the 2022 Kawasaki's has been a nightmare. And I wanted to give a little bit of insight as to what's going on with getting the Watercraft Journal on, namely me, on a 2022 Kawasaki. I was supposed to have been on one, actually all three, around Valentine's Day. That was the original plan. And production got pushed a month. So obviously we as media had to wait. Corporate simply did not have a ski that they wanted to put us on. They were not going to put us on the pre-productions that they did the photo shoots with. You know, like all the pretty pictures where you see people smiling and looking pretty and skirting around. Primarily because like the dashboards didn't work. The function, you know, half the functions didn't work. These are prototypes. These are enough for them to take pictures with. And a lot of times when they put the media on a pre-production unit, half the stuff doesn't work. Sorry. Yamaha puts us on pre-production units every now and again, not always, but every now and again. Especially if it's just change of colors. I mean, you can pull the seat and you'll see the original colors. They just literally ran through with a paint gun and put new decals on it and said, okay, put it out, put the redhead on it, see what he thinks. You know, it's nothing too crazy. But when it came to Cowie was like, we don't want to put these guys on pre-production units. So we got to get some production units, and they just hadn't gotten any production units. And the production units started showing up at dealerships before even corporate got a production unit. And I'm not joking. And customers were taking collection of units of skis before corporate was. So that was kind of crazy. Now I had a really good lead on a 310 LX. Unfortunately, that fell through. So I am not going to be able to get my hands on the 310 LX as soon as I wanted. But a lot of you guys have thrown me links and asked about the guy down in Florida. He's down in, I think, Jupiter, Florida, and he's got a YouTube channel called JD's Water Roll. Well, it turns out JD writes for the Watercraft Journal. Guys, he writes for me. And in fact, one of his longer articles is going live on Wednesday. He did a comparison between the Yamaha Jetfish and the Trophy. So it's going to be kind of a neat side-by-side comparison. Anyway, JD has been working with us in helping develop some content that's exclusive to us, some content that is partially shared with his channel and us. And what we're working on right now is an owner's review of the LXS. And the LXS is a slightly trimmed down version of the LX. It's the green and black. It doesn't have the sound system, but has the back. It has the reverse camera, has the deck extension, but doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the LX does. And we're working on that video. I'm actually going to be recording the voiceover using a lot of his script. And so that's something that we're going to be doing as well, just to get some Kawasaki jet ski content rolling. Now, here's where it gets fun. The week of the 23rd, and so it's 2 weeks from now. A week of the 23rd, I fly out to California. And I'm only going to have just a shotgun blast of a day and a half, not even a half, pretty much a day, to ride and video all three. That, in my opinion, is not enough time. I'm going to be honest. I don't care. Here's how a lot of these media things go. A lot of these media things go, well, at least they used to go back when, your dollar meant something. Was they would fly you out to some neat location. They'd wine and dine you. You put you up in a hotel, and then you'd have 5 hours of the ski, and then they'd take you out to dinner that night, and then they'd fly you home. And I'm like, guys, I'll sleep in the freaking parts van. Put me in a hammock on the beach. Go to Walmart, get me a sleeping bag. I'll put my backpack under my head, and I'll sleep in the van as long as you give me 2 days with the ski. I want more time with the ski. That's all I want. And I don't care if it's Lake Elsinore, which is disgusting. It's not as bad as it used to be when I was a kid, but it's still not great. But it's like, dude, let me have the ski for 2 days, 3 days, a week, whatever. And they said, well, we really can't do that, Kevin. We can't have you out here, blah, 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 blah. We can only get you a day. And I was like, bah. All right, fine. And then I got a call back and they go, well, hey, what if we sent you one? And I said, guys, I don't care which model you know, which of the 310s I get my hands on. If I could get my hands on one for more than a month, I'll generate content till this place looks like I'm bought out by Cowie. And they all laughed. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to fly you out. And then you'll probably end up getting one of the units that you test rode that day. Because those are pretty much what we got. And you're the only media outlet that we give skis to. So I said, okay. So here's the course of events. Is that about the same time that I'm flying out to California, we're probably going to have a video that's in conjunction with JD's Waterworld, the YouTube channel and our channel. And it's going to be a lot of his footage and my voiceover and some of my editorial and a lot of his script. And we're going to kind of marry a little bit of that. And I don't agree with everything that he said. Here's one of the bonuses of not having to buy every ski. All right. Every ski that I review. And that is, I don't have to justify my purchase. There's a lot of people who feel very compelled to have to justifying their purchase because they're in it so deep. For example, all the guys from 2018 and up who said that the RXTX is going to be the best offshore running hull that ever existed. Wrong. It's not. It's actually one of the worst. There's a reason why you don't see anyone P Aqua X on, or P1 Aqua X on an ST3. They're not on GTXs. They're not on RXTXs. They're all, anyone who rides a Sea-Doo, they're on an RXPX. And the PX is doing all right. Brian Baldwin showed that it works. Thank you, KR, for the support. I appreciate it. By the way, YouTube says that we now have what's called Super Thanks. I have no idea what the heck a Super Thanks is. But if you guys know what a Super Thanks is, educate me. Because it said, oh, you now qualify for Super Thanks. So, cool. Anyway. So the nice thing with the Cowie in reviewing the Cowie is that I've been able to walk around and put my hands on one. I didn't get to. It was boxed at a dealer. I couldn't ride it. And there's things that I don't like about it. I'm like right out of the gate, especially that engine cover. Engine access is worse than a spark. And I'm fuming over that. Like, I'm really upset about it. And the rear handrails are attached. The rear handrails are attached not to the deck. They're attached to the seat. Which I understand for the adjustable seat. How it slides back and forth. That's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. And I literally grabbed it and jostled it. And I'm like, my wife will never ride on the back of this. Now, then again, the Cowie guys are like, dude, that's no different than Sea-Doo. You're right. It's no different from Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo's rear seat has the handles attached to the seat too. So if the rear seat falls off, you're holding on to the seat while you go tumbling off. You take the seat with you. So, I'm just not a fan of. Really, my beef is with the engine cover. My major beef was with the engine cover. So we'll go from there. But so the Cowie situation is going to be the Cowie situation is being resolved. We're going to have probably a good 2 to 3 months of Cowie content coming out. So, and if the ski shows up, to be honest, I kind of just want the X. I don't even want the LX. I mean, the LX is cool. It's a flagship. I'm going to have the GTX Limited 300 here eventually sometime. It was supposed to have been here a month ago, but whatever. So once the 300 Limited is here, the GTX 300 Limited, once that thing shows up, I kind of wanted to do a comparison between the Cowie and the Sea-Doo because price-wise is pretty close. So we'll see what happens. We'll see which ski I get. I had said, hey, listen, if you want to do the flagship, I'll do the flagship, but I understand how things are. But yeah, Billy. Yeah, Chad said the same thing about the engine cover on his LX. Yeah, it is. That really rattles the hell out of me. I think they're trying to keep the water ingestion from the seat and the cover, but the fact that the front storage is like 30% smaller, and now they've blocked off the engine cover, it makes me want to punch an engineer. I mean, it really makes me want to punch an engineer. I'm really just not happy with that. So, especially because that was one of the greatest appeals about the Cowie was that it was the biggest on everything. Biggest on storage, biggest on fuel capacity, biggest horsepower, most thrust, biggest, it was the biggest pump diameter, 161 or it's like 161 and change. Most thrust. They had the most. Cowie was the glutton's ski. It had everything. So there's a lot of things that they changed. A lot of things that they changed on the new Ultras that I haven't been on it yet, so I can't really state. I'm just kind of a little tentative. All right. We got other videos coming out. It's been nothing but quick topics and live sessions for the last, it feels like the last couple months. I haven't done a lot of on the water stuff. I'm waiting for some things to come in from the video editor. So I'm getting a little impatient, but we'll see. We'll see some more content coming out. So, and speaking of stuff that, and speaking of designs and tweaks that people like and people didn't like, and things that just kind of needed to go out. I think the Kawasaki seat cover situation, or the not seat cover, but the Kawasaki engine cover situation might be amended with enough people complaining. But I've got some other stuff here on a list, and this is a short list. I only got like 7 or 8 things here, but these ones stand out the most, and I'd love to hear more suggestions. If you guys say, oh man, Kevin, you forgot this. They got rid of, this thing lasted a year and they got rid of it, or, whatever. But what's nice is that I've got a perfect blend of everyone. I've got 3 of Cowie, 3 of Yamaha, and 3 of Sea-Doo. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. Oh, so no, I don't. I have, let's see, Yamaha. Let's see, Cowie, Sea-Doo, Yamaha, Cowie, Sea-Doo, Yamaha, Yamaha, Sea-Doo. Okay, so Cowie's got 2 of them. Okay, well, let's start with Cowie. Let's poop on that. Okay. These are technologies that, like someone here mentioned, the Yamaha telescoping bars. Okay, the telescoping bars were not flawed. They didn't fail. They weren't a bad design. In fact, they're one of my favorites. And there's a lot of people who will say, hey, listen, those were really, really good. It was just that they had tilt steering. Well, excuse me, the GPs were fixed steering until this last, 2021. And now they're tilt steering. They're not telescoping, which I thought, again, was a mistake. But because telescoping worked really good, especially for the stand-up rider or the guy who was the closed course who needed the bars as low as possible. But the telescoping bars, for anyone who's ridden an FZ, FZR, FCS, I've never heard anyone who owns an FZ complain about those bars. Never once. The only time I've ever heard any complaint was that they didn't go high enough. It's that there were some taller guys who were like, dude, it would have been really cool if it went up like another inch. But I've never heard anyone complain about it. In fact, I've heard people say, man, I wish they'd bring it back. So when I say we're going to talk about technology that was phased out, it was either because it was flawed or something better took its place. So that's really what I'm bringing up. All right. Some stuff, I mean, like I was thinking like, hey, I should just talk about the 3D. Let's just talk about the Sea-Doo 3D. But nothing replaced the 3D. All right. And the 3D was kind of the last hurrah of the XP because it was effectively an XP. It was just the old school XP, but that they made a big open tray and they put a handle pole on it like a stand-up, and you could put a go-kart seat on it and compact your spine and crush your tailbone, it was hilarious. The go-kart seat was so funny. But then you had the bicycle seat, the Schwinn banana seat, which actually came out. You held up the handle pole, and it folded out, and then it had a kickstand that locked into place, and you brought the handle pole down. It fixed the handle pole, and it made it, honestly, it rode a lot like an X2, which was kind of cool. And then you could ride it like stand-up. The problem was that it didn't have much of an inside lean. It didn't have a lot of the characteristics physically, riding-wise, like a Superjet or a Octane or obviously a jet ski. So when I bring up the 3D, and the 3D lasted what, 3 years, 4 years? I think it was 3. I don't think it went 4 years. It just didn't bite. It just didn't sell, and they had to kill it. But that's not a technology that was out. That was kind of phased out. So again, I'm leaving that one off. So I'm going to start with old school. Old school. This is like old. For you guys who grew up on 400s and 440s and even some 550s, when you fell off of those old Cowies, what happened? Actually, I'll give away stickers. Before the days of lanyards and kill switches, when you fell off an old 440, JS 440, what happened? They circled back. Attaboy. Snowjet Steve. Snowjet. Email me your address. I'm going to give you 2 stickers. Snowjet got it. They do the circle, and you have to bob there on the lake and wait for your stand-up to come circling all the way back. All right. Yeah. Hey, Snowjet, please email me. info@watercraftjournal.com. Okay. Email me your address, and I'll send you out a pair of stickers. So yeah, the old 440 and 550 pre-lanyard circles. Now, I don't remember this, and I tried to look it up, guys. What year did Kawasaki put the kill switch in the lanyard? Because I don't remember. I thought it was 84, 85. But I do not know. So if anyone can kind of definitively tell me what year they put the kill switch on, I'd like to know. Because I know the Yamaha's always had the kill switch. But I am curious to know when Cowie put the kill lanyard on. So anyway, that was one of the first things, was that the old 440s, before they had, I'm hopefully some of you guys who are young will have your minds blown, there was a time where you could ride a jet ski without a lanyard. All right. They didn't have lanyards. They didn't have a kill switch. And if you fell off of your stand-up, because there wasn't any sit-downs at the time, if you fell off, that ski kept going. And you better pray that it circled around or you were stuck. You were going swimming. And So what's up, Mikey? By the way, I still love I just love saying your name. Hey, yo, Mikey. Which always makes you think of Goonies, where Mouth is sitting there with the drinks, the dirty water. He's like, yo, Mikey, you need to go to the bathroom. Anyway, so I really do not think that Sea-Doo will ever come out with another 3D. I really don't. And all the people who said that Sea-Doo is going to make a stand-up and they're going to use the spark motor, dude, it's never happening. They lost their butt on the 3D. They lost a lot of money on the 3D. Thankfully, the 3D was still the 951 with the XP hull. There was a lot of part sharing, but they lost some money on it. All right. So anyhow, but yeah, the kill switch lanyard, that was that was 70s through the 80s, and that thankfully got replaced. Excuse me, the circling around, the clockwise circling was thankfully replaced by the kill switch lanyard. So that was number one on my list. Was old school tech on that one. Now, which one came before that? I'm going to save this. Sea-Doo suspension is on here, so don't worry. I'm not forgetting that one. But I kind of want to do this chronologically, and I know I'm going to mess it up. You know what? Yeah, Yamaha had, for a long time, Yamaha's trim control, all right, their nozzle trim control, all right, was on the left-hand side, and you had a little purple trigger, and it was a release. And that quick, yes, Jason, QSTS. What does it stand for? What does it stand for? Come on, tell me what it stands for. What does QSTS stand for? You got to do it. I'm waiting. Come on, Jason. Who can tell me what QSTS stands for? Quick shift trim system. Hot dog. I love it. I love you guys. It means I'm not alone. It means there's people who have filled up their brains with completely useless jet ski knowledge. I'm not alone. All right. The quick shift trim system sucked. And I know there's people, no, dude, it was great. Oh, it worked great. Oh, it worked great. Hey, I got a question. Have you tried to adjust your trim at full throttle going around a corner or leading into a corner and then pulling out of the apex? It sucked. It sucked. You had to have the strongest wrists humanly possible. All right. Yeah, she was better. It's not the best. Well, especially with if you've got an SVHO, you can't adjust it with any sort of throttle. You can't. You got too much thrust going through it. Even with a 150 millimeter or 155 millimeter pump, trying to adjust that thing is impossible. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And for anyone who was trying to be, performance rider and using that thing, it was useless. And the reason why it was useless is that you had so much thrust applying hydrodynamic pressure that you're trying to manually readjust or change the attitude of that thrust under throttle. Dude, you had to be He-Man to freaking do that. There was a lot of guys who just could not wrench that thing. Hey, by the way, everyone, we got 107 people who are watching right now. Let's get those likes up. I know you're watching. Hit the likey button, the thumbsy upsies. Come on. Let's feed the algorithm. All right, yes. The racers had to figure it out, and they went to a hydraulic system. All right, with either trim tabs or they used a manual drop nozzle. Manual drop nozzle is a lot cheaper, but yeah, that was something that was a good Band-Aid, but it was very expensive and it was another system to be put into the ski. And the manufacturers were like, we can't really go to market with this. So what are we going to do? So that's why, Sea-Doo had VTS, and, you started getting the electric trim system. So that was a thankful replacement. Just took a while to get there. When Yamaha replaced their QSTS, it was a godsend. All right. And that appeared on the GPs and the FXs. All right. So we're going to get rid of QSTS. All right. Now let's hit Sea-Doo. I'm gonna dig up this one, and I think a lot of people are gonna laugh. And that is someone also brought up a really good one, that Yamaha's adjustable sponsons with the little knobs. I didn't even consider those. I didn't even add them to the list. Adjustable sponsons have been around for a while, and I mean, in fact, the 2012 RXPX had adjustable sponsons, but none as user-friendly as the all-thread with the nut, and you could just hand twist them, and you could adjust you're just off of one fulcrum, so it's just off of here. They worked to a degree, but if you notice, all the racers immediately threw those on the shelf and put some Rivas or Beach House sponsons on, or R&D or something like that. So anyway, let's go to Sea-Doo. Got another acronym for you guys. OPAS. OPAS. Who remembers the OPAS system? X-steering. No, X-steering's not out. It's not really gone. I'm still running 22-year-old beach houses. I love it. That's great. Off power assist steering. Jason, again. Am I giving Jason stickers? Jason's got a big stack of stickers. Off power assisted steering. Chris Stone actually he said it correctly. It's assisted steering, not assist steering. Okay. The off power assist steering. These goofy things. All right. For those guys who are too young to know or are new to the industry, I'm going to describe them. Imagine beneath the bond line, you're looking at your ski from a profile. All right. Right behind the sponsons, you still had some length of hull behind your sponson. Sea-Doo would mold in a little bit of a shelf or a little bit of a pocket or a corner. And there was these little black plastic little flippers. All right. They did this. And I'm talking, they were maybe this big. They were maybe the size of a big apple. I mean, like an orange or something like that. They were not big. They were tiny. And these little guys were the idea was to help maneuverability around marinas and around the dock or getting on the trailer. All right. When you're off the throttle, you're at idle, and you need a little bit of steering assistance. All right. That was the whole idea. The idea made sense on paper. It was a good idea. Because you're like, hey, listen, it's a little hard to steer these things without giving it a bunch of throttle. We don't want people who are novices goosing the throttle and running into anything. How can we help them get a little bit more maneuverability? Well, any racer, any performance enthusiast, I want to say S-canned the OPAS system as soon as that ski got off the truck. They threw those things in the trash so fast. I did. And you had the Riva and R&D and Tim Bushman, if I remember right, had those neat billet machined anodized hull extensions. And those were quicker than a ribbon delete. And we'd throw those things in the trash. It was extra hardware. It was extra mechanisms on the pump. It was extra mechanisms that just added weight and more moving parts. And they're trying to reduce all these moving parts. I had seen where some of them had bound up, like some seaweed or rope had gotten bound up in it, and the steering would get locked. And people were like, "Oh, I got stuck, and I turned right and hit a boat, and I don't know what happened." And it was because the opus got jammed up with something, and the ski would just veer into it because you could kind of force it. Ask any racer, any real racer. Sound like a line from Fast and Furious. I live my life at 10 seconds at a time. I live my life 1/4 mile at a time. For those 10 seconds or less, I'm free. Boom! All right. I'm going to tell you my Fast and Furious story. I got to tell you my Fast and Furious story. All right. That movie came out when? 2002? Was it 2002 when the first Fast and the Furious, The Fast and the Furious came out? So I had my Charger running, and it was not 1998. You're full of crap. No, it wasn't. It was 2002 or 2003. You can go ahead and IMDb it. 2001. Thank you. Okay, 2001. So my older brother and I had gotten my Charger running. I literally had no back glass. There was no back window in it. It was just a 383. It was a lazy iron-headed 383. It had a set of really cheap Summit Racing catalog headers. But I had like a 650 Holley double pumper on it, and we went through the ignition, got it timed and running right. It sounded pretty good. Put like a 3000 stalled torque converter in it. I built the transmission and put new clutches and steels in the torque flight. But it was still an 8 3/4 rear with like 355 gear. So it was a fun drive around. It was a fun drive around town car, but you couldn't leave it anywhere, even though I drove it to college with no back window in it. But had no grill. Headlights were sheet metal screwed. I had no money. And so anyways, PJ. That's pretty funny. So anyways, my brother and I go to see The Fast and the Furious. And we're in Garden Grove, California. We go to see this stupid movie. And they're all racing these stupid front-wheel drive racers. And danger to manifold, and the floor drops out of this guy's Eclipse, and the anodized blue washers go flinging everywhere, and danger to manifold. And yeah, I know his RX-7's rear-wheel drive. So is the Supra. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so I had gone to street races in LA. Okay, and it wasn't these limp-wristed loop-de-doos. All right, the Fast and the Furious was glorifying the midnight car show culture, where they'd all get their hood rats to dance around listening to their stupid music, and then they'd go around with fart cans going, "No!" All right. Real street racing, that was happening in the city of industry. That was happening in Torrance, in the industrial areas, okay, where there's no street lights. They didn't block off roads and have that crap. That's garbage. That never happened, okay? What really happened was you went to Carson and you ran on 223rd Street that had no streetlights for 5 miles. It ran alongside the freaking Unocal refineries, and you'd line up right outside of the freaking Spires, which is now a Shoney's. You'd line up, everyone would sit there, and these guys would back off these freaking big blocks, 70 Novas with open headers, and they're all running electric water pumps and little generators, and so they have no draw from the alternator. And these things would cackle out with an absolute lopiest camshafts you ever heard. And they'd race not for pink slips, because that's stupid. They raced for cash. And I'm talking 5 figures cash. And this is in the 90s. And I sat there as a dumb teenager in button-fly dairy, button-fly, I saw Dairy Queen, I almost said dairy. Button-fly acid wash jeans and a white In-N-Out Burger t-shirt and Chuck Taylors, and watch guys lift tires on garbage 1990 Mickey Thompsons and non-DOT Hoosiers and go tearing down the street. That's street racing. Okay. None of these stupid decorative nitrous purges, and no one purged their systems like that. You had your shit dialed on the trailer, or you drove it in dialed. All right. My brother had a 69 Chevelle that was dialed, and he ran 1120s all day long on garbage tire. And he'd go out there and make a couple $100, and then we'd go to Denny's and, have some, get a grand slam and then go home. That's street racing. So anyway, I go see Fast and the Furious with my brother, and we're laughing. We thought it was a comedy. We're laughing. It's like watching Airplane. Dude, Nas, look out for the Nas, dude. They're shooting up my Mitsubishi. The Nas is gonna explode. That's not what nitrous does. Okay. You could take a high velocity round and shoot a compressed air tank like at the end of Jaws, and it's not going to blow up. All right. Nitrous doesn't blow up. It doesn't do that. It compresses air. So anyway, yeah, the Civics go underneath the trailers. All right. Ugh. So we're watching this whole thing, and then the Charger shows up. And here's the bet. Let me explain to you guys something who don't understand muscle cars and big horsepower. Okay. Dom Toretto, Vin Diesel, shows up, and he's the big baddie. He's the king of the street. He's the fastest guy. He's got that red RX-7. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, RX-7s with their freaking rotary motors are garbage. All right. When I would drag race in Florida, when I lived in Lakeland, I go drag race. And all these guys would show up with these rotary Mazdas, and they go, and they'd all shoot ducks. Just pop, 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 pop. And no guy could ever get a rotary motor to run right. Rotary motors would spend 12,000 RPM, and they sounded like garbage, and they never ran right. And my freaking Dodge Ram 1500 05 Dodge Ram, which is parked out here, and it's full of dents and holes, and it has an exhaust leak, and ran 1490s consistently. I bracket raced that truck, and I could beat the Mazda guys because their cars were crap. I'm totally off topic. I'm talking cars right now. Sorry. I'm sure people are tuning out, but you picked a scab. So yeah, Dom Toretto shows up in his stupid freaking Mazda. Yo, dog, I'm the fastest guy there is. Ruh, 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 ruh. I'm gonna turn my nitrous bottles on so everyone can see. All right, if you say so. And their nitrous buttons are sitting there just holding them down. Going turbo boost kit. It's the longest quarter mile you've ever raced in your entire life. It's so stupid. But let me tell you this whole thing. This movie goes for 40 minutes talking about how great these Japanese cars are. And then Brian shows up, goofy blonde, blue-eyed Brian shows up. Gee golly, mister, I'd sure like to know how to street race. And he shows up to Dom Toretto's house. There's a 70 Charger in there with a BDS blown. By the way, it was not a 426 Hemi. It was a first generation 392 dragster motor. It was an alcohol motor. That's why they never ran that motor. It was never a real motor. It never fired up. Anyone who knows their head from a hole in the ground immediately saw that engine and went, not a real Hemi. I mean, it's a real Hemi, but it's not a real 426. It was not what they said it was in that movie. It was a lie. Now, I know that in later movies, it was an LS motor with a fake blower on the top. And it was a small block. No, it was a big block Mopar. It was like a 440 motor. in the 70 at the end of the movie. But anyway, Dom sits there and he does this speech about how his dad died, all right, at Pomona in that, he was circle track racing or whatever the hell the story is. And Dom goes, or Brian's like, so you ever drive it? And Dom says, no, it scares the shit out of me. That's my point. All right. All this talk for 45, 50 minutes for Fast and Furious and how fast and how bitching they are and how great drivers they are. They sit there with a real muscle car that puts 1,000 horse to the ground. And they're like, I don't drive it. It scares the shit out of me. That should tell you everything. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. By the last movie, it's got wings and it flies and it has a helicopter engine, jet engine on it. And it, it's bulletproof and it's a submarine and it's the James Bond car. Blah, 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 blah. The first movie was actually, boy, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the first movie was actually somewhat grounded. But anyway, Fast and the Furious. This is what you did when you asked me about Fast and the Furious. And then and we broke out laughing. We were laughing our heads off. We thought it was the stupidest thing we've ever seen. We were laughing. And then we crawl into my S-Box 69 Charger and drive back to his house as I leak ATF fluid all over the place. Anyway. So, Opus. They got rid of Opus. What did they replace it with? Better tuning. They didn't really. They didn't replace Opus. They just got rid of it. All right. Let's do Yamaha. All right. Oh, this is a tough one. 2008. Yamaha announces this newfangled technology. It's very exciting and it's very forward thinking and it's sci-fi and it has nanotechnology in it and it is the way of the future. It is Dippin' Dots, the ice cream of the future. It is absolutely the best thing you could ever imagine and it is called Nano XL. And Nano XL is just a new bonding formula for chopped fiberglass. That's basically it. And 2016, they come out with Nano XL 2, even lighter, cuts like another 40 pounds out of the FZR. It's lighter, it's thinner, it's all power to weight ratio. Yamaha was way on the power to weight ratio train. Okay. And it was funny because I remember riding that red FZR and you had the fake carbon hood and it wasn't even the hood. It was just like the top fairing piece. And I remember looking back and getting on the throttle and the whole swim step went, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And I was like, oh, that's really thin. Holy crap. And was it 2014 they got Nano 2? Was it 2014? It might have been 2014, guys. It might have been 2014 that Nano 2 came out. Okay. Hey, no, that's cool. Yeah, I know 16 had it, but I wasn't sure about 2015. Because 14 was black and blue. What color was 15? Because 16 was red with the carbon. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate the super chat. 2014 FZR SVHO had Nano 2. Jason says it's 15. Oh, Billy and Jason are going at it. Oh, white. 2015 was white. You guys look it up. I'm busy running my mouth like an idiot. Okay. So, anyways, Nano and Nano 2 served a really good purpose in helping pull down a lot of that weight. And it still is functional. Now, a lot of people say that Nano 2 requires a different repairing process. That's not necessarily true. Oh, well, okay, yeah, it is true. I don't want to make this into a hull repair video because I need to have a little bit. I need to have a little bit more research on that one. But I want to have my homework on that one, and I just am not prepared. So, anyways, Nano worked, and Nano, you did not have delamination issues with the FZs. You didn't. You never heard people bitching about their hulls delaminating with the FZs. But it became an issue with the GPs, and then it became an issue with the larger FXs. What happened? Well, the biggest issue was the paint adhesion. What paint? Thank you, Jerry. Oh, another one. Geez, thank you, sir. The biggest issue was paint adhesion. The paint wasn't durable to begin with. It's automotive paint. They swapped from gel coat to paint, and I don't know when that happened. Oh, well, they were splitting they were cracking the pump tunnels, but that was because the pump tunnels were not reinforced. And Jerry, I'm not talking about the Spark, the 2023 Spark. I've done videos on it. Appreciate the money, but I'm not talking about it here. Sorry. Go watch the older videos. So, what are the changes that Yamaha made? All right, because they're not phasing out Nano and Nano 2. So what are they going to do? Well, currently the GPs are remaining Nano 2 bottoms. Number one, they're not adding weight to the GP. They're not going to do it. Number two, the larger FXs are now running a traditional SMC fiberglass hull. But the decks are Nano if you have an HO and Nano 2 if you have an SVHO. So that's the way they're adding a little bit of weight because they're going back to fiberglass, stronger, doesn't flex as much because you have Nano flexes. Can we just put thick carbon fiber with epoxy? Price out carbon fiber. James, it ain't cheap, dude. Carbon fiber is cheap. Jonathan, those are byproducts. It's not as noisy and less vibration. But the primary reasons were torsional forces and longevity. The paint was not okay. How do I do this without going totally crazy? We're already at 53 minutes. It's the same as my opinion on the 2021 FX Cruiser. You can look at my review on that one because the only difference is paint colors. Nano XL2 hulls flexed a lot, but the paint that they were using did not have a lot of flex additive in it, so the paint would start to stress and crack and weaken as the hull would flex. And you start seeing fissures and you start seeing cracks in the paint. Well, if those were not addressed, those cracks would spread, or if there was scratches or damage to the hull, that would exacerbate this flexing problem, this weakness problem. And suddenly you saw large chunks breaking off or peeling back. And then you would see, the famous pictures on Facebook of, 4-foot strips of paint being peeled off the ski. And it's because they had damage to the paint that was never addressed. And that was the big problem. So Yamaha says, listen, forget it. We just can't have this kind of fight anymore. We are going to go to SMC fiberglass. There's less flexing. There's less stress on the paint. And it soaks up a lot of it absorbs a lot more of the vibrations, and it dampens a lot of the impact. So it'll be a cushier ride. So that is really the change in regards to Nano XL. Here's the kicker. Nano, it will likely never go away. Yeah, thank you, David. I appreciate that. Nano will likely never go away, and we are certain to see a Nano 3 that's kind of a thicker, more durable blend of Nano and Nano 1 and Nano 2. I don't have an ETA on that. I just know it exists. So there it is. All right, Nano. No, Jonathan, no one's going turbo. No one's going turbo. And I've kind of addressed that a lot. Too much room, too much heat, and really real estate and heat. So that'll be the FX Cruiser is not fast. The FX Cruiser goes 50, 55. The HO will get you into 60. You can get an FX Cruiser HO, and you'll hit 58, 59 easy. Some people see 60, 61. The guys are saying they're going 65 on an HO are full of crap. I want to go 98 miles an hour. Whatever, dude. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's see. That was Yamaha. Let's go back to Kawasaki. This is actually something funny because Chris Stone and I were talking about it. Excuse me. Kawasaki Smart Steering. Kawasaki Smart Steering actually got my wife to fall off of an Ultra at idle speed because it actually rolled. It had it engaged, and she was not paying attention. I don't know what the heck. We were out in the ocean off of Dana Point, and she just fell off the side of the ski. I was like, what just happened? She was like, I stopped and I slowed down, and then it just started turning, and it rolled, and it kept going, and I fell off. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Kawasaki Smart Steering exists because people are stupid. Kawasaki Smart Steering exists because people are dumb. And people in panic situations let go of the throttle, and then they try to steer. And they go, what the hell just happened? I can't steer. I'm like, yeah, because you have no thrust. Your wheels aren't moving. You're coasting. And what are you going to do about it? So what Kawasaki Smart Steering does is that it pulses a little bit of thrust so that you can, when it feels that the throttle has been chopped in a panic situation, it pulses a little bit of thrust through the pump so that you have enough to steer. That's the whole idea. All right. Because people chop the throttle. Come on, dude. Just to keep people from collisions. Unfortunately, I think more people is they're gonna collide worse. So, Jason, you're wrong. Skip, I've done videos on that. Frank K. I want a 13-foot switch. How hard is it to put a 300-horse engine in it? Should I order? None available anywhere. Oh, wait. You'll destroy the boat. That boat will not hold up to the torsional forces of a 300-horsepower engine. There's a reason why they don't offer that engine. They don't offer that engine in any Polytech hulls. For a reason. They are smarter than you. Don't try to outthink the engineers. Because what's going to happen is that 300 horsepower engine will tear the motor mount right out of that plastic hull, and then you will have a brand new switch that's at the bottom of the lake. That's why. It'll tear that ski apart or that boat apart. Have you seen the video that I did of the freaking 19-foot 230 and the whole damn thing flexes like the USS Constitution? All right. That is a Lego pontoon boat. It is snapped together. It's dude, you will spend so much money to be at the bottom of the lake. You can go ahead and do it. It's like, Josh, screw Kevin. I'm going to do it anyway. Go ahead. Go ahead. Put it. I want you to try out first. Why don't you go get a GTI or a GTR 230 and put a 300 horse engine in it and see what happens to your hull. Do that one first before you go and buy a pontoon boat. See what happens. I dare you. So, yeah, it's a bad combination, my friend. Yeah. So smart steering has not been removed. It is on the 2022s. It still exists, still in practice. Much to the chagrin of some people. I've never had a problem with it, but I'm not everyone. So I don't know what to say. I got two things for Sea-Doo. I think I'm going to end with the suspension. All right. This did not last long. This was kind of a all that talk about Fast and Furious got Kevin fired up. That's funny. This did not, I think it lasted for 2 years. Was Sea-Doo used to offer in the mid 2000s these large leg shield fairings that went basically from almost below the right below the steering all the way down to basically the bond rail. And these big cove fairings were supposed to keep your legs from wind chill, from water spray, all that kind of fun stuff, from water getting in the footwell. They were fine. I found out later, and looking up some people's opinions on them, was that if there was water in the footwells, they actually created negative space. And that negative space would actually cause a whole lot of turbulence. And those big coves would actually slow down the ski. And it would turn it into this big whipping, like you would get splashed, and you're like, where's this water coming from? And it was the water in the footwells just being whipped up inside of the inside of these coves. And yeah, 2002 to 2006. Thank you, Billy. And they just they would stir up and be this turbulent mess. And people are like, these things actually suck. And so they would take them off their skis. And finally, Sea-Doo got hip, and they said, okay, we got to get rid of these things. So that was a short-lived little thing. And I mean, it was not a performance item. It was more of a convenience item. But that was something that they were trying to plus the GTX. They were trying to make the GTX all that more luxurious, and it just kind of backfired. So, but that was super rare what I was talking about with the turbulence thing. Otherwise, it was just this cove. Some people would bang their knees on it. It was all right. So I thought of those fairings. Those were pretty funny. All right. This one I know caught a lot of people. This one actually caused a lot of trouble. And I had friends who got screwed on trips because of this. Yamaha's key fob. For a long time, Yamaha used to come with a little key fob. This is for my Durango. But these little locking safety key fobs that the Yamahas had, most people ignored them. They kept them in the little Ziploc bag that came in the back storage pocket. They never touched them. Most people never, ever messed with them. But there was always the rare instance where it was in the glove box and someone got their keys or their wallet out or hit it with a bottle of suntan lotion, and they locked their ski out. And I knew people who got locked out of their skis on trips. One guy was either in the Keys or he was in the Bahamas and got locked out of his ski and couldn't get his ski working. Couldn't get the ski working. And just had to leave it. He was totally screwed. And I just have to laugh at that. I'm getting so many text messages from people who know I do a show, who know I'm live. Totally knows I'm live. And he's sending me text messages. You know who's sending me text messages right now? I'll tell you guys. Freaking Ryan from JetX is sending me text messages over his 87 mile an hour Sea-Doo that they're working on. He put up that speed. He goes, oh, the ski went 87. I go, yeah, it went 87 on the dashboard. How'd it go on the GPS? He goes, it went 87. So that was good. But it's got a cam, supercharger wheel, tune. It's got some stuff in it. Went pretty quick. Getting some speed out of those Sea-Doos. I'm telling you, making some speed. Pretty crazy. So that security fob thankfully went the way of the dodo when they went to Connext. When Yamaha Connext came up, they put in the 4-pin digit, the four-digit pin number. All right. And that safety code, please don't use like your actual pin number. Sorry. Don't mean yawn. Please don't use your actual PIN number. That's a bad idea. But yeah, they got rid of those key fobs and now it's in the Connect screen. So hopefully you don't injure your Connect screen and have a lockout or you'll never be able to. Yeah, 88 miles an hour. You're going to see some serious. Yeah. I know JP just did a video where they went 88 on the dash. He actually used his phone GPS on. If someone showed me a picture, he was using his phone, but I've never seen those guys use GPS or a V-Box. I'm like, dude, a handheld GPS is $150 off of Amazon. Go get a GPS and see if it matches. All right. Everyone knows the speedometer speeds are goofy, and I'm not singling out JP. Everyone does it. I mean, Green Hulk is rife with people. Facebook groups are rife with, oh, look, my speedometer on my dash says I go 78. And I'm like, dude, you go 74. You hit a spike and it blipped. Anyway, get a GPS. If you guys are big into GPS speeds and big into proving speeds, get a good GPS or a V-Box. Chris, by the way, I figured out what the hell was wrong with my V-Box. Chris and I were trying to do V-Box acceleration speeds. I had a brain fart that day. That's entirely my fault. All right, last one, and then I want to talk about our mysterious Formula One Sea-Doo that everyone is claiming all sorts of crazy stuff. So, Sea-Doo has been pushing the Sisyphean boulder up the hill since the mid-90s when it comes to suspension. All right, XP had the suspension, and some people loved it. Some people really, really hated it. I didn't mind it. And it was kind of fun because depending on how you sat, you got more of a lever action. So if you sat really far back on the seat, you could really get that seat to compress. And that got phased out. And then in 2008, they introduced what was called intelligent suspension. That's the IS. Or HX, excuse me. It was on the HX. It wasn't the XP, was it? It was the HX. Or am I backwards on that? I thought it was the XP. Oh my gosh, guys. Am I having a stroke? Please correct me. It's the XP, right? HX came out in 95. Purple. XP. It had it on the XP. XPL. Okay. God, I swore. All right. It was on the HX, though. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, my goodness. All right. So, intelligent suspension came out as a 2009 model. And it worked. When it worked great. When it didn't work, it was a nightmare. And I know I've talked about intelligent suspension a few times, but it really did work. And how it worked was it was a coilover shock that had an adjusting chuck on it. And the chuck would spool up and down to compress or relax the coil spring. And obviously, the tighter it got, the tighter the suspension was, and as it backed off, the looser it was. And what was neat was that the whole deck, footwells, seat, steering, was basically inside of a bathtub. It was inside of an inner deck. So there was an upper deck and an inner deck. And that articulated inner deck would move on two arms in the front, a single arm in the back, and the coil spring shock in the middle. And it would compress like this. The problem is that the IS also had too much give, and it would also go side to side. And I raced the Catalina on an RXTX IS 255 with a cracked sternum and on 2 Vicodin. And I don't take pain pills. I'm a real lightweight. And I was high as a kite. I didn't feel a thing. And what was wild was that I got top 10 and first in my class doing that race. I was really proud of myself. I hopped off that ski. I came up to the dock, and my wife and my buddy Justin and his girlfriend were there. And they're like, "How'd you do, dude?" And I'm like, "I feel great. Let's go to In-N-Out, man. I feel awesome. This is awesome." Turns out, it's like, "Dude, you did really good. You came in top 10. I'm like, "Oh, okay, awesome." So anyway, but IS was becoming problematic because the automatic adjusting system, not only was it expensive, not only was it problematic and it would fail, but anyone who had to work on one of these things, any mechanic, any dealership who had to work on one of these things, had to remove the whole inner deck. And that was a massive ordeal. Tons of man hours. It was tons of man hours. And it became so problematic for shops and dealerships. It was a nightmare. So eventually what happened was that most of the failures were occurring with the RXTs, because guys were out there really ripping the hell out of it and really banging on them. And it was just killing the IS units. So in the early 2010s, they went to what was called AS. And the AS had like a Fox shock or a King shock style reservoir tank. And the reservoir tank ate up a big chunk of your glove box, but it had a little adjusting knob on it. And you could adjust the rebound rate on the shock. And basically making it a manual mode of the IS. Well, eventually no one wanted that. It just, because you can't open up your glove box and, you're right. You got your throttle on your right hand. You're opening up your glove box. You're reaching in. You're trying to adjust it for changing water conditions. It didn't work. So then Sea-Doo said, well, we still have a lot of this stuff tooled up. We have these decks we have a mold for this. We have all this kind of stuff. And finally, they just kind of said, you know what? Let's just make it manual adjustment. And so what there was effectively, was it a 10 or a 12 millimeter little hex head. You put a little socket wrench on there and you tighten it up or loosen it up on a GTX. And the GTXs were the last ones to have the S model. It was GTX S 155. And that was kind of the very end of the suspension models. So from 2009, I think the last one was either 14. I think it was 14 or 15 that they finally phased out the last of the suspension models. So 8 mil, really? That's small, dude. If anything, it was a 10. If anything, it was a 10. The 8 sounds way too small. Because you had to lift the seat up to do it. It was, on that metal plate. You had to pull that seat up, and it was a one-piece articulated seat on a hinge. And you had to sit there with a socket wrench and tighten it or loosen it. I want to say 10 mil, but again, we're splitting hairs. So that was 8 or 9 things that just were kind of neat on paper that sounded cool, but in practice in the real world didn't hold up. It was a 10 mil. Okay. So what does that mean for the future? Like, what stuff do I see that will be phased out? I know of certain changes and certain things that have to be addressed, but nothing that was really novel or innovative. I mean, like the ST3 Sea-Doos glove box is lambasted by everyone. Everyone's upset with that stupid little glove box because they're like, dude, I can't put anything in there. I can't access a drink or sunscreen or anything, besides my phone. And people are like, yeah, we know. Okay, we'll do something about it. Okay, we will. Kawasaki's engine cover. It's going to take a lot for me to change my mind on that one. It's going to take a lot for me to change my mind on that one. And I just think they're going to get a lot of push from me. And hopefully anyone who gets exposed to it feels the same, because I don't think I'm alone on that one. I really don't think I'm alone on that one. And I don't think there's enough positives to outweigh the negative. That's kind of my take on it. But we'll see. I mean, again, it's really premature for me to even say so. I haven't even ridden the damn thing. I haven't. All right. There's guys out there who, quite frankly, have been on skis that I've never been on. It's really put my magazine in a deficit. It really has. Yeah. This year has actually injured my magazine, in the sense that there's a lot of Yamahas that I didn't get my hands on because Yamaha has none to let me do. Sea-Doo has all of their effort into the switches this year, so they didn't even have me ride any new Watercraft. They said there's nothing new for the Watercraft besides, like, okay, the dashboard's now available on other skis. Okay, great. We want you to talk about the Switch. Okay, but that's really it. All right, let's talk about one last thing before I get out of here, because I got 10 minutes and there's no super chats that I haven't addressed. If you guys have a super chat, you got a question that's burning a hole that it's just like you gotta get answered, then stand-ups like the Richter and the Crash. Never been on either. And I'm a really, really lousy stand-up writer. I have people who write for me who are fantastic stand-up writers. And it doesn't have to be the Kevin Shaw show. Yeah, the video channel. This stupid shirt. My undershirt keeps showing. Occasionally I'll ride like a new Superjet or an SXR. Okay, great. But I give a novice opinion. I'm not going to give you any sort of evaluation personally that Casey Malden or Mark Gomez or anyone else would give a damn what I have to say. They don't. All right. I'm a 44-year-old overweight ginger. They don't need to hear what I have to say about a stand-up. All right. Dustin Matsouris does not give a rat's ass what I have to say. And that I'm totally okay with that. Like, I get it. I don't do anything for I don't touch jet boats at all. In fact, Yamaha, I talked to Yamaha about this a while ago. It must have been like 6 years ago. Because I was thinking about expanding the Watercraft Journal into doing boats. I was like, hey, should we do jet boats and pontoon boats and blah, 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 blah. Because Sea-Doo still had their boats. Scarab had bought all the Sea-Doo jet boats. And Yamaha was like, you can, but we're not going to advertise. I said, no. And they're like, dude, we own 80% of the jet boat market. We don't need to advertise, especially to more jet boat people. The people where we advertise is like Men's Health and like Time Magazine. I was like, oh, okay. If there's no money in it for me, I don't give a damn. So I'm like, okay, well, cool. I'll pass. And quite frankly, Sea-Doo, I mean, yeah, we put some Switch stuff in, but you know, Sea-Doo's like, just talk about jet skis. You don't care. I said, okay. Electric jet ski startups. I don't know. What, are you talking like Taiga? Talked about Taiga last week. They haven't delivered on stuff that they promised 10 years ago. All right. Will the Orca show up? I don't know. Maybe. Will the cigarette show up? Maybe. Well, all these, the Narky. Have you seen the Narky? The Narc, or looks like a narwhal. You know, it's stupid, like square nose thing. That'll never come to fruition. All these stupid, all carbon fiber electric jet skis, dude. No. I have driven. Hey, I have driven the quad ski. I have driven the quad ski. I did a whole, not a video, but I did a review on it. It handles like a brick. So anyway, do you guys want me to talk about that Sea-Doo Formula One racer thing that everyone's saying is a 2023, or do you want me to hang up and be done? I don't know. Everyone wants to talk about that stupid Formula One thing that it's a 2023, and Randy's saying it's a 23, and it's not it's not a 23. It's a custom made ski that they painted and they gave it to a celebrity. It's not a 23. It's literally a gray and black 2022 that they put a seat cover and some floor mats on. That's it. And it has stickers on it. It says 300. It's not 330. It's not 350. It's not 400. It's not anything. Sea-Doo has no motivation. There is nothing. There is no motivation to make more horsepower. There isn't. Let's hear it. No. Yeah, I already did. Yeah, I spilled the beans, guys. That's it. It's what was it? 2 years ago? 2 years ago. There is no future for two strokes. Two strokes are dead. It's like asking me, what's the future of the flathead Ford? I say this, and Dodge brings back the straight six, the slant six. The engine's dead. No, we're bringing back the slant six. We're calling it the Hurricane. Click. Anyway, so the Sea-Doo Switch will make you cry. So yeah, that's really it. Yeah, the Formula One in 2005 will be a two-stroke hybrid. That's funny. All right. Well, let's see. Do we have any other questions? Do we have anything else? I already talked about the topics. We got new videos coming out. I don't know. I need to confer with Adam, our editor, when some of the stuff's gonna be done, because I had the video on the Tennessee ride is in editing. The video for the PWC art sponsons is in editing. I have to record the audio voiceover for the Ultra 310 LXS, and I'm not sure. I think those are we have the Riva upgrade to the map tuner, but we're still waiting on some stuff from Riva for that. So I can't pull the trigger on the Riva one until Dave Bam just gets back to me. I'm still waiting on that. So dang assholes tonight. Update on the Lake Tahoe Fishing Derby it's canceled. It is canceled. It is canceled. All right. I don't know what a carbon shield is. I know what a carbon seal is. You're asking about Sea-Doo carbon shield. Why does Sea-Doo IBR exist? Brakes on the water? Dude. Welcome to 2008. Brakes work. It's intelligent brake and reverse. Jake, if you're bitching about why does it have brakes, don't buy these. Because you're going to look at that ski and it's going to look like a TI-82 calculator and you're going to crap your pants. You're not going to want them. Don't buy them. If you haven't done any due diligence as to what these skis are, hold off. Don't make that sounds like an impulse purchase because you haven't done any due diligence. If you're asking me what's IDF, all right, or excuse me, what's the purpose of IDR or IBR? I can't read right now. Yeah, if you're asking me why do they even have IBR, dude, my last ski was a 2001 RX. Do a little due diligence. That's a lot of money you're going to spend. Wow. Donnie, I'm not concerned with Lake Tahoe. I don't care. I don't care. I'm just telling you, I'm relaying what the promoter and organizer of the event is saying, and that is that the event is off. The event is off. I'm not going to Lake Tahoe. I don't live on Lake Tahoe. I don't care about Lake Tahoe. I appreciate it. All I'm telling you, though, is that the event is over. All right. What's the update on the sponsons? Dude, I tested them. And I did a video. And I told you, the video is in editing. Oh my gosh. You people vote and have driver's licenses. What's the first thing I should do with my RX-PX? Break it in. What's the first thing I should do with my Sea-Doo? Break it in. Follow the break-in procedure. Then put a catch can on it and a scom and sponsons and leave it alone. It'll be fine. You'll go 75, 76 all day long. You'll enjoy it. You're not the fastest guy in town, but 75 miles an hour outruns damn near every boat on the water. And if you're asking me, you're not a racer anyway. You just want someone who wants to have fun. Is the FXHO a goodbye? Yes. Jacqueline, thank you very much. That's very funny. Hey, Kevin, my boyfriend and I Let me try it again. Jacqueline writes, "Hey, Kevin, my boyfriend and I are watching you together. He's got me hooked on your videos. Keep up the good work." Jacqueline, your boyfriend's cheap. If this is a date, he needs to try harder. You deserve a little more effort than watching me make an ass out of myself in my basement talking about jet skis. That's funny. Why doesn't Yamaha put out at least 300? Because they put out 285 at peak horsepower. They put out 285 at 7,900 RPM, and power to weight ratio is solid, and they don't have the big target on their heads when the EPA comes crashing down and says, "Hey, all you gross polluters," and Yamaha's like, "Hey, man, we just make 255 horsepower, and we're really mild, and look at us, we got 4-star ratings, and California likes us." CYA. Okie dokie. Well, all right. I think we're. Well, $10. Well, okay. Well, you're paying me in pound. What is that? Is that the pound? Well, $10 a gallon gas kill the jet ski market. For most, yes. For the most part, yes. Most definitely. Yeah, it'll crush most people because they're like, you know what? I got to commute on Sunday, or I got to commute on Monday. Sorry, today's Sunday. And I got to drive, and I got to put gas in the truck, and wife has to drive the kids to school. I can't afford putting, 18 gallons of super in a jet ski. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'll just grill some hot dogs on the grill in the backyard and let the kids play on a slip and slide. So what's going to happen? That's what's going to happen. It's going to kill the recreational market. It'll kill the recreational market. And it's not just jet skis. It'll kill the sand dune guys. It'll kill the recreation motor guys. But think of it. A buddy of mine brought this to mind, and I thought this was really funny. Old politicians are the most vindictive people you'll ever find on the planet because they're garbage human beings. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I don't care what country they're in. All politicians are vile human beings, especially if they've been there long enough. Okay, there's not a true conservative in this country, a red-blooded true conservative who likes Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Mitt Romney, any one of these guys who've been in politics for 20, 30 years or more. Some of those guys are old as dirt. We hate their guts. We want them out. All right. I'd rather put them on a freaking iceberg and push them out into the Pacific Ocean. All right. I got no love for those dudes. But when it comes to politics, let me tell you something really funny. Was what my buddy mentioned. He says, "You want to know why?" He goes, "You want to know why Biden got rid of all the domestic oil production and killed all that gas production?" I go, "Why is that?" And he says, "Because he hated all those Trump parades. He couldn't stand seeing all those jet skiers and boaters out there having a good time with Trump flags, and there wasn't a damn thing they could do about it. They can't lock down the water. All right. They tried shutting down launch ramps. Remember that? You remember when they tried shutting down launch ramps? No, you can't go in the water today." So they're like, "F you, I'm going to go out over here." And they started shutting down launch ramps, and people started cutting locks. They're like, "Screw you, I'm going to go out in the water." My buddy is convinced that the Democrats killed domestic fuel oil production to shut down all the Trump parades. And I thought that was the funniest damn thing I ever saw. I thought that was really funny. So anyway, I thought that was a funny thing. What will replace the jet ski then? Nothing. Nothing will replace the jet ski when the oligarchs get what they want. Don't you understand this? In 2030, you will own nothing and you will like it. That is the title of an article written by the World Economic Forum. In 2030, you will own nothing and you will like it. I am not stuttering. I do not have a speech impediment. I am telling you the truth. They do not want you to recreate. Will you please pay attention to what's happening in China? They are welding people into their apartment complexes. And then the apartment complexes somehow catch fire. Guys, it's happening right now. And we're talking about jet skis. We're talking about jet skis when we should be going down with a dry erase board the checklist prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ. Because we are rounding third base. It's getting kind of hairy. All right. They literally published the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices and the names of the schools where their children attend. Sorry, I'm on a rant. Just saying. You guys need to start looking into U.S. history around 1856, 1858. What was going on in Congress then, and what the states were doing. The Chinese jet ski market is 4 times the U.S. market. Highly disagreed. U.S. market is the single largest market in the world. And Florida is the tip of that spear. Florida is the biggest market in the jet ski market. Or Florida is the biggest market in the U.S., which is the world's leading jet ski market. So. All right, guys. Wow, it's over. And we're almost at 140. All right. You're getting out there, bro. Yeah, I know. I gotta leave. I'm fried. Today's been a long day. All right, guys. It's been fun. I'm gonna get out of here. If you haven't already liked the video, please like the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Let's get the algorithm up. It's really funny. Is my views are bananas, but like the percentage of subscriptions is like less than 30%. So we get gnarly views. Are you saying you should start going to church? I think you should start your food storage, get out of debt, and start investing in home protection. Number 1, food storage. Number 1, food storage. Number 2, get out of debt. Number 3, if you can, try to make yourself a little bit more autonomous, a little more self-sustaining. Number 4, home protection. All right, guys. We'll talk soon. The end of the world is coming. Repent. I'm joking. All right. Well, I'm not joking, but still. Have a good night. Bye.